Hi everyone, it's Marla. Welcome back to Twinstrology and this week's Astrocast. This week's Astrocast is going to be a little bit longer because I want to cover a period of about a week. It's a very transformative week ahead of us with a lot of opportunities to shift timelines, but it's also possibly going to prevent some challenges for you. When we're talking about shifting timelines, we have to choose a higher option. And so if you are facing these challenges, and you may have been experiencing some of this already, but these challenges are really opportunities for you to make a new choice into something higher. But you're being asked to stay conscious enough to be able to recognize the triggers and the choices that are being presented to you. So I'm starting here on April 17th, early in the morning, and we have Mercury on the 29th degree of Pisces, getting ready to move into Aries. And when I talked about Mercury moving direct a couple weeks ago, I talked about how we were not really going to have clarity around what was happening during Mercury retrograde. We weren't going to get the full reveal until Mercury had moved over his shadow at his shadow degrees. The shadow degrees mean the degrees that he moved through his retrograde on. So even though he's been direct, he's still going through the degrees that he retrograded on, because he stationed on the 29th degree of Pisces. The Sabian for that is a majestic rock formation resembling a face is idealized by a boy who takes it as his ideal of greatness. As he grows up, he begins to look like it. So it is another degree that talks about materialization and manifestation, and really how our thoughts and our beliefs, our ideals, create a reality. Because in this boy's idealization, he has become that which he has idealized. Now that can work for your benefit, or it can work against you, depending on the situation and how you look at it. But there's a lot of energy in the coming week for you to recognize your thoughts. You need to, as I said, remain very consciously aware of your thoughts this week and where they're taking you. Are they taking you to a higher choice? Or are they keeping you stuck in the same story? Because as Mercury crosses this line, we're moving into this energy now of more powerful manifestation. And we're crossing that bridge from the spiritual world to the material world, the world of form. So it's very important to be clear on what's going on mentally. Thoughts create your reality. You all know that. But it's very easy when we're triggered for our mental body to get a hold of us and to run away with us. As Mercury goes into Aries, look who he's coming up to join with. Chiron on the 3rd degree. So they make the exact conjunction the day of the full moon, actually, in the evening. And they're on the 3rd degree, which has a Sabian about love. Two lovers are strolling through a secluded walk. Now I bring up that Sabian because love has a big role to play in the energy of the coming week. You may find that a lot of your triggers are dealing with love and love relationships. And that might be an area that you're going to be challenged to see if you can stay conscious. This Mercury Chiron energy, remember, there's a lot of different aspects with Chiron, a lot of things that Chiron represents. One of those things is our soul wound. And when we have planets joining up there, it's bringing up a soul wound. Now with Mercury, we might have created some flaw in our thinking, some belief structure that wasn't fully grounded in truth. We may have developed some kind of coping mechanism. And now we're needing to look at that. Now, has the moon, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here because I haven't talked about the full moon yet. But just after the moon is going to move into Scorpio and create an in conjunction with that Mercury Chiron aspect. There's a lot to do with our subconscious, our buried fears, our buried shame, our buried guilt complexes going on, being triggered by our mental body. But because Chiron also relates to our multidimensional self, if we allow ourselves to see our patterns, to move through any ego challenges, emotional challenges that come up, if we choose higher, we can shift onto that higher timeline. But I think what's really important in this energy is we have to be willing to look at ourselves. When we're dealing with core wounds, we want to create, as I said, a coping mechanism, a way to protect ourselves. These are either coming from a past life or coming from your childhood. When we're children, we don't have the consciousness that we have now. We create these coping mechanisms of blame, projection, criticism, not just criticism of others, but criticisms of ourselves, judgments. And all of those things create limitations on who we are and what we can create. So this week is a very important time for letting go of a lot of those mental limitations and egoic limitations. And what we have to recognize, I feel, about the Mercury energy is that we cannot understand the soul and our spiritual journey through thoughts. This is a metaphysical energy. This is beyond our mind. So we're being asked to let go of some of these structures of keeping us locked in our mind. So let's go back a couple hours on the 19th and go into this full moon a little bit. This is our second full moon in Libra. When I talked about the new moon last week, or I guess, was that last week? Maybe a week and a half ago. I've totally lost track of time with everything going on. I talked about how the energies of the other cardinal signs, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, influence our energy in Aries, our will, and how our family and our partners and our society influence us. And again, we have to look at no longer blaming outside influences. The blaming doesn't get us anywhere. It doesn't change our timelines. It doesn't change what's happening in our life. It actually keeps us stuck. So no matter how painful it is to have to face some of these energies within yourself, until we do, we're wanting to blame others, and we avoid looking at ourselves. Again, it's about staying conscious, looking within. It's time to let go now of our fears about how other people are going to react to us if we're going to be rejected. With the sun in Aries, we've been building our courage. We are in our inner warrior energy with the sun in Aries, and we want to move forward. But this opposition to the moon is reflecting our inner need to feel secure through having other people in our life. When we become our true selves, sometimes that ruffles the feather of other people. And the moon is our sense of security. And to let that go can make us feel insecure. But all our cardinal houses here are being triggered. So we're needing to change. And the sun is in this conjunction with Uranus, saying, yes, it's time to change. It's time to let go. It's time to move forward. It's time to be your true self. Already at the time of this moon, we already have Pluto stationing to go retrograde, which he does on the 24th. So it's like this Pluto energy is stopped in the sky. Pluto is our transformational energy, but can also represent, that which is deeply buried. So there again is that need to face something that perhaps you'd rather not face. And there's a lot of loss in the energy coming up. There's a lot of release, moving through fear. And that is the challenging part of it. But we can't move in to the new while we're still attached to the old energy. And that's what's making everything very hard. The image that I'm being shown for the energy of the coming week is I'm seeing us just floating on this vast ocean of nothingness but water, and the waves just pulling us in every direction. That can be scary. Think about that. Think about being alone and tossed around on the ocean, the vastness of the ocean. That's scary. That's kind of where we are at as we make this shift from the old or the new. Now, your moon energy is going to want to say, I don't feel secure standing alone, or swimming alone, or floating alone. I need to hold on to someone else. But you have to be very careful of what it is you're holding on to. Because if it's what's not good for you, if it's what is keeping you stuck in the past, then unfortunately you're not going to shift timelines. And you're not going to fully embrace all that it is that you have the opportunity to become right now. But I think most of you are at that place where you are ready. You feel ready to let go. It takes a lot of courage, but that Pluto energy is courage. It is having the inner strength to confront everything that we fear and move through it. And it's really the divine feminine energy that we need to embrace this week, because it's the divine feminine that's going to allow us to trust the universe and trust that we can just float that we don't have to worry. The universe is not going to pull us under. The universe is shifting us where we need to be. And if we just surrender, we're going to find land somewhere. We're going to find that promised land. Surrender to the universe and don't get distracted by your fears. I want to read you guys the card that I pulled for the Libra full moon. Remember too, this is our second full moon in Libra. The universe is really giving us an opportunity to let go of codependency. And as we start off the week, the moon's in Virgo, and we can be dealing with fears around criticism and judgment, especially of ourselves. But we may look to project that onto others as well. And then we move into Libra and we're dealing with issues of codependency. And how do we sacrifice ourselves unnecessarily to please other people? And then with the moon in Scorpio later in the week, we might be dealing with feelings of betrayal from people, whether that's coming from something in the past or by something that's actually happening. But through all of those energies, it's important, as I said, to really focus on not going into the old stories, but choosing to write this new story for yourself. So the card for this full moon is number 34, Hot Moon, and this deck is Queen of the Moon Oracle by Stacey DeMarco. And the card is Extremes. It says, learn how to handle crisis with calm and resilience. Seeking balance is superior to seeking extremes. There are better ways to handle conflict than rage and outrage. There may be someone who seeks to disrupt your business or life in some way. This too shall pass. The affirmation is, I handle extremes with grace, yet I seek balance in all things. Similarly, we can experience extremes in our life. Deaths, job losses, relationship breakdowns, true fears, big conflicts, booms and busts, and yet this is our life. Our situation can change quickly for better or for worse. The hot moon challenges us to build our resilience and reserve of wisdom and calm for those times when things are at their extreme. It reminds us that developing grace under pressure is worth its weight in gold, and that even these extremes, in time, will pass. I think that's a very fitting card, because for some of you, the energy may feel extreme, but use this as an opportunity to create a higher level of surrender and acceptance and trust. Now, as we move through the week, again, the 20th, now it's Venus's turn to shift from Pisces into Aries and go over that manifestation point. And we've already have been feeling this buildup of Venus to Chiron. And I gotta say, guys, that whenever Venus comes into hard aspect with Chiron, it's not usually a fun energy, okay? Because if we look at Chiron as our wound, there's some wound around love and relationships that's being activated. Go back to the Sabian symbol, because on the 23rd, Venus and Chiron are joining up on the third degree of Aries, just where Mercury had joined with him. Two lovers are strolling through a secluded walk. With that energy, you may feel isolation. For some of you, you may have communication over the upcoming week with a romantic partner, a prospective romantic partner, someone from your past. There could be some unexpected communication, some unexpected news. And it may be one of those triggers that's asking you to choose a higher timeline. Are you going to go into the pain and the fear? Or can you release it enough? Can you see through the ego structures enough to choose better, to choose higher? There's definitely an element of the unknown here. At the same time, the sun is conjunct Uranus. And I'm being shown like we're getting tossed into some unknown territory, or there's something coming that we didn't see necessarily. Or maybe we saw, but it may be something we saw or considered, but we didn't want to go there. And now you're being shown that that's what it was. And it's hurtful or challenging in the moment, and you have to rise above. You have to release the fear and allow it to be transmuted. Because the energy of Chiron and Venus ultimately is to open your heart even wider, to embrace love even more. In the most difficult, painful, challenging experiences of life, the loss and the loss of love, can you choose to love beyond that? Even if something doesn't necessarily happen in your 3D reality, it's a very strong indication that things from a past life are going to be coming up. Whether or not you recognize it as coming from a past life is not necessary, but at the same time that we've got these two in a conjunction, we've got Sun, Uranus in a conjunction, we've got South Node and Saturn in an exact conjunction. Having South Node and Saturn and Chiron, Venus in exact conjunctions on the same day is a bit of very intense past life, multidimensional energy coming through. Stay conscious. Stay in your awareness. You can find balance through any situation that might arise. And you may find, even if you can't see it in this moment, you will find as you move down your path, move down your journey, that this is something that was in your best interest all along. And this week, whatever goes on, and for some of you, it could be the best week of your life. I don't want to create fear in people's minds. I forgot what I was saying. Well, it's your choice, right? Like the universe is just helping you to find something better. Sometimes it's really hard. We get so attached to the old story that we think there can be nothing better for us out there than this old story, this old dream that we have wanted for so long. We become so attached to that story that it limits us and we can't see anything beyond it. And the universe has no choice but to pull that story out from under us in order to get us to expand and to see bigger and clearer and to see through the fear, to get us to face that fear, to get us to dive headlong into that ocean, those tumultuous waves, and just let ourselves be tossed around in the emotion, to show us how we don't have to connect. We don't have to completely immerse ourselves in that emotion anymore, because the North Node in Cancer has been teaching us how we can detach from the emotional triggers to find the balance that we need, to find the ascension. So we must change. And the more we resist change, the more that change has to be foisted upon us for our own good. Again, this is where trust comes in, and being in your divine feminine energy. There's an amount of sacrifice that is occurring this week, and it's interesting that this week is Easter week. And of course, Friday, the 19th, the day of the full moon, is Good Friday. And I've been seeing the word sacrifice. Without connecting religion here, if we look at the figure of Jesus, Jesus made a sacrifice for his ascension and for the ascension of all, to be an example of how transformation, rebirth, resurrection is available to all of us. And so throughout the energy of this week, you may have to make some sacrifices. You might have to let go. You might have to make some changes, and it might be hard. But there's going to be a reward. And part of the reward is just going further into your ascension, so that we can get to the place where we're not always being pulled around by the emotions and by the mental body, where there's peace. With Saturn and the South Node at an exact conjunction, it can be very easy to fall into fear. It can be really easy to fall into the patterns of the past, the old pattern that felt safe and secure. With the Sun and Uranus conjunct in Taurus, that can be representing that there's some really hard patterns that you're needing to release. Ones that have been with you for a long time, that have been very challenging to let go because you haven't wanted to face something about those fears. We can't allow ourselves to fall into the fear and the old. We've got to let go. If you have to pry your hand loose to letting something go, then do that and move into a whole new beginning, whole new timeline. If you would like a personal reading with me, my website again is Twinstrology. I'm sending you guys a lot of love, and I will talk to you soon. Namaste.